Stream with Ecamm Live and Shure. I'm Laura Davidson. We're going to talk about a ton of fun things today. Well, in my opinion, pretty fun. But we're really going to focus on microphone types, how to select a great mic for live streaming, for podcasting, for any of your recording needs. And I've got a bunch of my friends here. So we're going to talk about how the microphones actually work. We're also going to talk about how to select the right one based on your application. And then we're just going to do a little bit of an A, B, C, D kind of challenge to see the differences in the types of mics. So what you're hearing right now is this guy, and you'll hear him for the bulk. And this is my SM7B, in case you're taking notes or playing along at home. So I am hoping that you can see me because I cannot see you. So we've got Caleb from Ecamm Live keeping it real for me and moderating the comments. So be sure to ask those questions, and we will take a look at those in a bit. But first off, just a little bit about Shure, in case you're not familiar with us. Shure's been around since 1925, based in Niles, Illinois, so just outside of Chicago. It's still a privately owned company, and we're in 120 countries all over the world. So we're a big company, but a small company in a lot of ways. We still keep things very, very fun, family-oriented, and we're always quality concerned, first and foremost. We want you to have the best customer experience, the best product experience. So everything that we make stands up to rigorous testing. We make everything to military spec, which goes back to around this era of the company, so around World War II, when we shifted production and started making microphones for pilots. So really great company to be a part of. Again, I'm Laura. I work in market development. So I get to talk to people like you about our products and let you know how they can make your experience even better. So, all right, let me switch this up real quick because I just noticed that you were hearing my MacBook Pro microphone and not the glorious SM7B. So full disclosure, I'm an audio person, audio geek, video geek, not so much. So Ecamm Live makes it easy, but I'm still, fumbling my way through this. So, so bear with me. And if you guys see anything popping up, please just let me know because, we're all in this together. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about how microphones actually work. If you're interested, if you're not, go grab a cup of coffee. But this is what we're going to talk about for the next, 5-10 minutes, just to show you what microphones are all about. So let's dive into it real quick. So microphones are fun little animals because they actually allow you to take your sound and get them amplified. But they're not intelligent creatures in that they don't listen very well. They only hear what is directionally in front of them typically. So let's walk through microphones a little bit, and I'll be off screen for a bit so you can focus. So this is the basic definition of a microphone. We're all pretty familiar with that. It takes analog sound and converts it into an electrical signal down an electrical cable so that it can be heard and amplified. So 3 basic types that I want to tell you about today. We have our dynamic, our condenser, and our ribbon microphone. And those 3 types are actually kind of the fundamental basics. You'll notice the dynamic looks pretty familiar. Hopefully that's the SM58, typically used for stage. Condenser, that one's looking more like a studio mic, but I'm going to show you today a condenser mic that's actually for live applications. And then ribbon microphones, which we'll get into in just a bit. All right, so dynamic microphones, like I said, most commonly used for the stage. The microphone I'm talking into right now, the SM7B, is actually a dynamic as well, so it's not just reserved for the stage, but the reason why it's used typically for the stage is because it can take a lot of sound before distorting. So it also has great feedback rejection because of the design of the mic and low handling noise, especially in our SM58, SM57. All of our handhelds, they have pneumatic shock mounts that keep it from rumbling around, which you'll hear when we do our test in a bit. So here's the basic layout of a dynamic microphone. So the way this works is pretty simple, and this is why it's been so successful, because there's not a whole lot of parts and challenges that would get in the way and cause it to break down. So essentially you have a magnet, you have a moving coil, and it's attached to the diaphragm. And when you talk or sing into that microphone, the diaphragm will vibrate and will make that coil move and create an electromagnetic signal, which goes down and into the board. So pretty basic, but very simple, cool. All right. Next up are condenser microphones. Typically you see these in the studio, and the reason is they have a sensitive diaphragm, which is great for capturing nuances. Nuances are great when you're in a controlled environment, like a studio, but if you're outside in the wind trying to sing into a side address condenser, it's not going to sound so great. Okay, so, but this is how this one works. And the reason why it's so much more sensitive is because of how the components actually interact. So instead of having that big heavy magnet to move back and forth, you have an electrically charged backplate, which receives phantom power, and that's how it gets that wonderful charge. And that's what that 48 volt means on all of your mixers. I need more coffee this morning. Jeez. All right. And so your diaphragm is very thin, which makes it respond much more quickly than on the dynamic microphones. And so when it vibrates in that electromagnetic field, and with the electromagnetically or electrically charged backplate goes down the capacitor. So similar to the dynamic, but much more sensitive, captures details, sounds fantastic. Next up are ribbons. And I think some people think that ribbon microphones are the newer technology of the three, but actually ribbons were the first. So they came out around the turn of the century, in the early 1900s. And so they are really great for capturing the natural sounds of your instruments. And the reason why is because they have a very different type of component in their diaphragm. So this very, very thin piece of corrugated metal is suspended between two poles of a magnet. So it's able to be suspended mid-air. And therefore, if you put any signal into it, it doesn't take a whole lot to make that little piece vibrate back and forth. And so that's why it's able to capture the detail and the sound very accurately. Hey, Frank, I wish I had a ribbon to show you guys today. I don't actually have one here, but I'm glad that you like ribbons. Yay, ribbons. Okay, so they are just a different animal. They're really great for using in the studio on electric guitar, especially because you could put it in front of your guitar cabinet. And then you could also have it be facing into a wall to capture the wall reflections, because ribbon microphones are naturally bidirectional, meaning that they pick up from either side of the microphone. Okay, hopefully you're with me so far. 3 different types of mics: dynamic, condenser, ribbon. Phantom power, that magical mystical beast, which essentially just provides roughly 48 volts so that your condenser microphones can work. It's carried along the microphone cable. It's not going to damage your dynamic microphone if you turn it on. In the good old days, it used to damage ribbons substantially. It would blow it up and make it not work. But with our ribbon microphones, you can use phantom, but we don't recommend it. But if it's on, don't cry. It will be okay. Next up about microphones, what we want to think about, and what I'll show you a little bit later, is polar pattern. Okay, so with your polar patterns, these are the most common: omnidirectional, cardioid, supercardioid, hyper, and bidirectional. Now, cardioid looks like a heart. A heart, people, get your head out of the gutter, okay? It's a heart and comes from cardio, and that's the most common. That's the one that's going to pick up what's coming directly into the front of the microphone. If I switch back over here, let me show you this. My mouse doesn't want to cooperate with me today. There we go. It's been a Friday, y'all. Okay, Fridays are supposed to be easy. It's been a crazy, crazy Friday. All right, so with this guy, my SM57, this is a cardioid pickup pattern. You can see that it shows you that on the microphone right there. And it picks up around like this. So what's great about that on stage, and why we made cardioid microphones in the beginning, is because people were singing in front of large orchestra pits. Okay, so think of old time 1920s, okay, 30s, and you had the pit down below or a big band, and you're trying to sing, and all the big band noise, because mics were traditionally omnidirectional at that point, would be going into the microphone, and you would be lost, or it would feedback. So cardioid rejects anything coming into the rear of the microphone. So that's why it's really handy on stage. So you can use this and not capture all the sounds of your audience screaming at you. But yeah, so off-axis rejection, also very good. So you want to be right on top of it, like I am right here. This is also a cardioid microphone. If I go over here, you can't really hear me as well, right? And if I went back here, you can't hear me at all. So that's the point of the cardioid pickup pattern. All right, let's go back here to this guy. Again, not the video expert type. And oh my God, my mouse just does not want to cooperate. There we go. All right. So polar patterns, as you can see, this guy here, omnidirectional, as it implies, it picks up everything. Okay, omnidirectionals are used with lavalier microphones typically, and that's when you want to be able to hear the person's voice without it being right up on them. But omnis will pick up just like the human ear hears. So essentially picks up everything. Cardioid, again, with that rear deflection. Supercardioid, similar to cardioid, but it's a tighter pattern. So even more off-axis rejection. We'll show you two of those today. But it does have this little tail coming out the back, and that is just something to be aware if you are going to be using this in a live application. Those microphones can pick up a little bit of sound coming in from the rear of the mic. So if you were to be using floor wedges, you'd want to make sure that they were positioned on either side of the mic as opposed to straight up at you. Otherwise, you could experience some feedback. All right, so let's talk about some microphones in real life, shall we? Let's do a little demo. So I want to know how you guys want to use them. Hey, Scott, what's going on? We're going to talk about dynamics. We're going to talk about condensers, and we're going to talk about how you're going to use these microphones. So right now, I'm in a fairly controlled environment. Now, when you're live streaming, there's a number of different things you want to take into consideration before you even get into the sound, but we're just going to focus on the sound for today. So when you start speccing out microphones and thinking what you need, you want to think about what is the space I'm going to be in? Is it going to be a highly reverberant room? This one's pretty bouncy. Or are you going to be able to use something like a reflection filter, this guy, where you can kind of set that up and deflect the sounds and kind of control the environment? Or are you in a very largely reverberant space? If that's the case, you want to start out with a dynamic microphone. So that's the SM7B that you're hearing right now. And if you're wondering how I'm getting all of this wonderfulness into my computer to talk to you guys today, it's because I'm using the Shure MVI, which is a single channel interface that looks like this. There we go. And you can plug in all of your existing microphones into a mixer, which is what I'm doing. So if you're hearing a little bit of noise, don't judge the mics, please judge the mixer and the subpart engineer at the helm. But it's all plugged into a mixer. I have 3 mics plugged in, and they're all running to that MVI. So you can have multiple options, or you can have multiple people. If you wanted to do an interview type situation and they're in the room with you, hopefully we can do that soon, then you can have that and channel it all into the MVI. All right, so this is the SM7B, but I wanted to also give you some sounds, some other options to hear. So this is that cardioid pickup pattern where, again, if I go off axis, I have a little more flexibility, okay? But if I'm in the rear of the mic, it's not gonna pick me up at all. But let's talk about this guy. Hey there. All right, so this is our Super 55, and it's a super cardioid microphone. Super cardioid, you might remember from the slide, has that little bit of tail end out the back where it can pick up the rear, but it also has that better off-axis rejection. So if I go off-axis on this one, even a little, I'm gone. So this is a super cool looking mic, but I wanted to point out too that it's actually the same as our Beta 58. Not a lot of people know that. So our Beta 58 stage microphone is the same as the Super 55 as far as the capsule, but I wanted to give you a quick kind of example of how different it can be depending on the enclosure that it's in. So let's hear the difference when I swap it out. Okay, same microphone, totally different sound, right? And if I go off axis here, you can hear totally gonzo. All right, but it has much more ability to pick up the space around me on the Super 55 because of how the microphone is physically built. So while it is going to reject that off-axis noise, you're still going to have a little bit more side access in the mic. So let's switch it back over. Easier said than done when you can't see the back of the mic. So yeah, you can hear more of the space in the room, but this is a great microphone if you're on camera. Looks great, sounds great, and it's just iconic. This is the black edition, but we also, the pitch black, but we also have the original in silver with blue on the inside. So, all right, so that's the supercardioid. But let's talk a little bit about condenser microphones. All right, don't mind my handling noise for a minute. Do you hear that little boost? Yeah, so condenser microphones, we talked about how they physically work. A lot more sensitive than your dynamic microphones. We said it didn't need as much SPL, didn't need as much signal down that microphone to make the diaphragm react because it is much more sensitive. So you can hear the like crispies and higher ends. On the SM86, which is my by far favorite live microphone, it's just so much more detailed sounding. Now, if I were able to use this in my studio, which I am, you can hear a lot more of the presence of my voice, so I really like this. But I primarily like this for my singing applications. If I were to use a different kind of condenser, which I'll show you in just a second, the side address condenser is great for podcasting, live streaming, getting a really detailed sound where you can get all the presence and nuances of your voice. So 2 seconds, here we go. Okay, and then let me do this real quick. This is my KSM 32. Get out of there, SM7B. It's always trying to steal the spotlight, that one. Tell you what, get to see it. There we go. All right, as you can hear, it's got a much hotter signal, so I'll just kind of back that down. But this one is really, really great in the studio if you're getting right up on it. If you have that really controlled environment, a side address condenser like the KSM32, KSM44, or the SM27, another favorite of mine, which is a dynamic, not a dynamic, sorry. But the KSM32 is going to give you that really nice lush sound with the side address condenser, and you can also adjust some of the roll-off on the microphone itself. So very cool option there. But again, you want to use your side address condensers when you are in a very controlled environment so that you're not picking up the sound of the room too much unless that's what you're going for. So you can hear the reflections in the room, hopefully. And I would recommend, I should have said this from the beginning, to put some headphones on so you can hear the difference. So grab some headphones now if you haven't already so you can hear what these are sounding like. But I'm going to switch back over to the SM7B real quick. Okay, there we go. And so you can get all of these little bits and pieces to up your rig if you want, but if you just want to start really simple and really basic, this SM57 with this little tripod stand that we make, Kevin, if you know the model number, it's the E something, please throw it in the chat because I can't remember off the top of my head. That with a windscreen on this sounds miraculous. I mean, it sounds close to the SM7B. You can buy that rig for 150 bucks. Now you would need an interface to go into. So if you don't have an interface and you want to stay even more simple and clean than that, we also make all of these fun USB microphones like the MV51, which is Katie's fave, I believe. Or no, she likes the MV5. That's this little cutie right here. Okay. Advantages to USB microphones is that you don't have to use an interface. You can plug right in. Now, I would plug it in and show you guys, but I'm afraid that's going to blow up my audio if I start switching signals, just because it's been one of those weeks where electronics are against me completely. Thank you, Kevin, for throwing that up there. The S41E. Yes, the MV51. So MV51 is great because you can control it. Maybe I don't need more coffee. You can control it right from the front of the microphone. So these microphones are made to be used either with your phone or with your computer. So you can either turn up your mic gain, your headphone, you just switch it over here, push this headphone button, then you're controlling that level. And then you have some preset options that you can select. And on the MVI, I actually have the same control panel. I'll show you that. So you can see it all lit up and purdy. I'm such a pro with my camera skills. All right, so you can see all of the control there. And you can access that from on the microphone or the MVI. But we also make an app called the Motive Audio app, which, why don't I plug that in and show you guys? Because I can do that with this thing called technology. All right, so within the Motive app, can go in here and I can do all of the control that we had. Not presets. All the control that's right on the front of the mic is also within the app, and you can control it in real time. So you can also add some compression, and then you can record directly into our Motive audio or video apps. Once you have your recordings, you can open them up and you can actually share them directly from the app. You can do a little bit of light editing, like if I wanted to do this one, if I wanted to trim it, I could do that. I could pull it in, do a little fade action, and then share it directly from the app. So that's called Motive, M-O-T-I-V, and there's video and audio versions. We also have the MV88 Plus, which is a mobile version, which I am feverishly looking for. So I usually have about 9 of them kicking around. This is the MV88 Plus kit. $249 gets you all of this, and the cable goes in here. I'm so glad you guys are here, by the way. Thank you for joining me on Friday and hanging out to talk about mics. I need to know what you guys want to know too, so I'm just babbling away here. Yeah, my interface is set, so let me see. Kevin, are you hearing the difference between the mics? Because it's showing, it should be going through. Just fine. But thank you, Alex, for saying that, just in cases. All right, here's the, we'll just forge ahead for now, but here's the MV88 Plus video kit. So you can see it just got power from the app. Now, within the microphone itself, the cool thing about this guy is that you can actually change the pickup pattern of the microphone, which remember we talked about polar patterns earlier on in this adventure. So there we go. So with this mic and with the app, you can actually change the pattern between stereo, because it's a stereo condenser mic, to cardioid, to mono bidirectional. Oh, and for some reason, it's not wanting to recognize this. Fantastic. And why that's handy is if you're using it in NVI and laptop. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it's just set to come through. All right, is that better? Or here, we can switch it to this. All right, now it should be just the MVI. Let's try it. And a plane flying over, which you can hear. That's always nice. Okay, so now you can see within the app that I can change the pickup pattern. Okay. Change between stereo, cardioid, mono bidirectional, raw mid-side. And again, why that's useful is you can use this in a number of different scenarios. So when we are back out there capturing interviews in the field or doing podcasts and whatever we have to do, you could set it to stereo mode, go out and capture some Foley, capture some field audio, tighten up the polar pattern if you want, switch it over to cardioid mode, do a quick vlog post or an interview or podcast recording. Switch it up to mono bidirectional, and then you have sounds coming from both sides of the mic. So really flexible option. So we make these USB options that are working with computers or with your phone, and then we make these beautiful analog mics, so to speak. But let's see what else is going on. So hopefully you guys can see me. I have the spinny wheel of death going on my computer, so hopefully you can still see what's what. But hopefully now I have it set to the MVI. So let's see what we got here. This is the SM7B that you're all hearing right now. I will switch between, yes, Kevin. Here is my SM86. So you should be able to hear the difference there. The condenser microphone is much more sensitive and nuanced.
And you can also switch over here to the SM7B and hear the difference between the dynamic and the condenser. So a little bit more bright, a little more top end in the SM86. So that's the differences between using that condenser. It's going to capture those nuances and be better for a controlled environment. Whereas our SM7B, which is an iconic broadcast microphone, is going to be really great for capturing that broadcast level sound. That's so strange, Kev. I set it up as an aggregate device and everything. So I don't know what I did wrong, but now you can hear it. So let's do it again. Let's hear some sounds. Okay, so SM7B, dynamic microphone, cardioid pickup pattern. Super 55, called Super for being super cool. Super 55 is a super cardioid mic, and if you're joining late, we talked about polar patterns. A super cardioid polar pattern is going to give you really good off-axis rejection, but it's also going to have be that much more important that you stay right up on the mic, because if I go off axis, I'm gone. So this is a great solution if you have kind of a louder environment, if you have something noisy or it's a reverberant room like what I'm in. You can switch it over to this type of microphone with a super cardioid pattern and not have to worry about it as much. All right, so let's switch it up to, this is the same mic again as the Super 55, same cartridge and capsule. This is the Beta 58. So I'm going to switch it over to that so you can hear the difference and see how this is picking up a little bit plosives and a little bit of the room. So let's switch it and hear with the same mic sounds in a different enclosure. Okay, so here is my Beta 58. And apparently a really crummy cable, which is very noisy, but the microphone itself is not noisy. So you can hear that presence boost in this one because of that enclosure, because of that pickup pattern, because of the way this is actually built. This is made for stage application and for singers, and it sounds really great on female vocals especially. I'm biased, what can I say? But you can hear that you're not going to hear as much of the room as we did with the Super 55 because of how the enclosure is. But it is the same cartridge and capsule and has that same great off-axis response and rejection, so that you're not going to get anything else into the mic that other than what you want. So let's go back to my SM7B. Okay, here we go. So hopefully you're learning some things. Thank you, Alex, for letting me know that, because here I am thinking that you're hearing all these beautiful beasts and you're like, no, I can't hear anything. So yeah, it's one of those, it's one of the days. So sweet cheater. Oh, good Lord. All right, we've got some fun people here. So we talked about cardioid mics. We talked about super cardioid mics. We've talked about USB mics, dynamic mics, condenser mics, and ribbon mics. I wish I had a ribbon mic to show you, but I really want to emphasize that if you're trying to get started and you want to get up and running really quickly, probably the best bet for you is to use a USB mic like our MV5 or our MV51, because they plug right into either your computer or into your phone. There's no need for an interface. You have control right on the front of the mic. They both have headphone outputs. So super, super simple. But if you really want to up your game, and thank you, Tish, I love the sound of the SM7B as well. If you want to up your game, this is going to be the way that you want to go. The SM7B, just so you can have kind of a behind the scenes look at what I'm using, I am using a cloud lifter with it, which gives it a little bit more boost. So it needs a little bit more gain, just the dynamic or the way the mic is built and wired. It just naturally needs that. So if you do buy the SM7B and you plug it directly into your interface, you want to make sure that you have one that's going to be able to give it enough gain. But just in case you were wondering how I was running it, I'm running SM7B into the cloud lifter, into a Mackie mixer, and then the Mackie mixer is all running to the MVI. I meant to set up a B-Rig camera too. Again, audio person, not a video person. So what other questions can I ask you? Because I've just been talking at all of you for the past 29 and a half minutes. I want to know more about you. Oh, thank you for posting that, Caleb. That's a link to the SM7B. You should definitely check it out. Is there anything else that you guys want to hear while you have me here? I have a couple more mics I can pull out. But again, if you wanted to start off and have that analog rich sound, let's actually switch it over to the SM57 real quick so you can hear that again. nice, rich sound, not a ton of money. You can get this stand, this microphone, a cool windscreen that the presidents use, not the orange man, but the other ones. You can actually have this mic rig for $150. So this is a great intro mic. So let's plug it in and we'll see the difference. I'm not using that cable because it's not cooperating. This is my day every day though, playing with cool microphones. It does not suck. Okie dokie. All right, turn this guy off so we don't have phase. All right, so this is the SM57. Now I don't have that windscreen on there, but if I did, it sounds pretty darn good, right? Really rich. This microphone is legendary. If you're wondering about the SM57 and the SM58, they're actually the same microphone, but again with a different top. So that's another example of how with the Beta 58 and the Super 55, why they sound so different. All right, so let's switch it over to the SM7B so you can hear a little comparison. So here's my SM7B. Here's my SM57. Not too shabby, right? And again, if you put that windscreen on there, you're not going to have the plosives. Please bring pizza pronto, as podcastages want to say. Please bring pizza pronto. Makes all the difference. So even if you got the SM57 with this, please bring pizza pronto, then you're able to have that nice sound without all the plosives and the pops. So there's a number of different ways. So don't get pigeonholed into thinking that you have to have the be-all, end-all SM7B, although it sounds rad. You can dive right in, get an SM57, get a windscreen for it, get a pop filter, throw it on a stand, start live streaming. Super easy to do. You do need that interface unless you're going to go with a USB microphone like our Motive mics. So highly recommend those. Question from Alex. Actual technical difference between a cloud lifter and a fathead? No, there's not. We don't make recommendations one over the other or in general for the gain boosters, but there's not a difference, and they're just giving you an inline signal boost. The cloud lifter, I think, gives us 20 dB boost. So it's just the one that I have that I'm very fond of, and I know it works, so I stick with that. But Shure does not make an official recommendation. Switch back over to here. What other questions? Which USB microphone is the best if I am demoing on the table and I do not want the sound picked up? Just my voice to use with MacBook Pro and Ecamm. Okay, great question. I can't see who asked it because it just scooted off the screen. But the MV5 is going to pick up a little bit of noise, but because it has this nice bass incorporated, it's not going to be as much handling noise. But I would actually recommend, if you're going to use a USB mic and you want to have the most versatile setup, to go with the MV88 Plus. This microphone can sit on the desktop, comes with a tripod. You can swap the microphone any number of different ways, and you can, again, have those features of changing the polar pattern within the Motive app, so you can have it be directional, pick up the room noise if you want it to, but I think that's going to be your best bet. So the MV88 Plus, $249 for the whole video kit. You can get that on Shure.com. Great question, though. Question, which USB microphone is the best? Okay, you just asked that. Do you think that my Shure SM58 is great for live streaming? Hell yes, I think it's great for your live streaming. I shouldn't have said that. Heck yes, I do. Yes, I do, because like I just said, the SM57 and the SM58, same microphone. Do you like the sound of this one? You'll like the sound of yours going live. It's a great mic. SM58 is going to give you more of the plosive rejection because it has that windscreen on the top. So yes, great microphone for live streaming. Okay. Beating with Kitty Robinson. Now I can see her name. Thank you for asking that. I can't have it in front of me as I need the table clear. Gotcha. Yes, you can have something coming down. You could use a shotgun mic like this. I don't know what your filming rig is, but you could use the VP83F, which would be mounted to your camera itself. The MV88 Plus can also be shoe mounted to a camera, because you can see it's got a nice little cold shoe mount right there. But you can also use a lavalier mic. So you have options. But yeah, if you want it to be off camera and you don't want to have that anything in front of you, a lavalier mic is going to be your best way to go. We do make one called the MVL, which is about $69 and plugs directly into the headphone jack of your device. So you can use that as an option as well if you wanted that kind of USB or without having to use an interface or a wireless system. The MVL is a great solution there. All right, Rode Pod mic is sold out. This is what I recommended. What is the second choice for mics around $100? So yeah, Pod mic, Rode, totally respect that company. They make great microphones as well. Around the $100 mark, you could actually get the SM58 with that desktop stand and be good to go and have the legendary sound that we offer with the 58 and the 57 in a great solution. Now, if you wanted the USB form factor, we have a couple of different options here, like the MV5, this is $99, and the MV51, $199. So a couple of different options there. If you want that USB form factor, stick with this. If you want something analog that's going to give you a great sound, be able to go on the road with you, be durable, also be a great podcasting solution, the SM58 is an awesome option for you there. Yes. Is that comparable to the Rode Pod mic? The MV5 is, yes. As far as it sounds, it's a condenser, small diaphragm condenser microphone. I wish I could plug it in, but I'm just so afraid it's going to like blow everything up. I try and change my audio, but I can do it if we so decide. Why don't I switch it up? Should I try it, Kev? What do you think? Show off the just how good our USB mics sound. All right, hold on. I'm going to do it. I'm scared. I'm so scared. All right, hold on. Okay. I think we're back. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's a lesson learned. Don't ever do that again. All right, here I am. Let me know if you can hear me. Hashtag blame the kids. Totally. Yeah, the spinning circle of death is no bueno, but hopefully you can hear me now. And it's saying the MVI is here. I'm back. Yay. Thanks for bearing with me. Again, video, not my strong suit. Audio, yes. All right. So we're back. And the moral of the story is don't do that again. But anyway, don't switch your microphones, which I knew it was going to do that. I'm so dumb. But yeah, you can hear me now. You can see me now. It's great. So yeah, I wish I could show you what the USB microphones sound like, but they are comparable. The Rode Pod mic is a great microphone. We make killer microphones. You just need to give them a try. I always say that. With this being called what microphone should I use, it's always so hard to tell people you should use this mic because everyone's voice is different. You have to be able to try the microphones out, which is easier said than done. I realize it, but I've tried, $20,000 mics and I've tried $49 mics, and it's just you just got to find out what's going to work best for you. Same with guitars. I use that kind of analogy is that if you have a microphone or if you have a guitar and you pick one up, you could play a $99 one or you can play a $5,000 one. And whichever one sings through you or whichever one enhances your instrument or your voice, that's the one that you need to go with. Okay, Beating with Kitty Robinson. What do you think of the Samson G-Track Pro? I am not familiar with that. Kev, if you have any insight into that, I don't know. I can tell you what my rig is normally. I use an Apollo Twin with my SM7B. Normally I have my camera set up over there, but because I can't see my hand, right there. But because I wanted to be able to pick up all of these microphones and have a mixer here, I kind of changed things up. You can kind of see, I'll show you a little behind the curtain action here. This is what we're running. Woohoo! See all these beautiful microphones? Roll that beautiful bean footage. And my kid's water bottle, which is what I'm drinking out of today because it's just that kind of day. Anyway, that's what I'm running behind the scenes. So yeah, if anyone has insight to share with Kitty, please chime in, but I'm not familiar. So Apollo Twin is my rig, or I use the MVI, which again is what I'm using right now. So I've got all those channels that you saw summed into this one single channel interface. So very cool way of getting multiple audio inputs into your computer and into Ecamm Live. Cool. All right. What other questions may I answer for you? Are you all clear on the microphone pickup patterns? Because the polar patterns is going to be key too. It's another point that I think a lot of people don't really think about when they're buying a mic. They just run out and buy whatever they see their favorite people using. But you want to make sure that you're using one that's going to be suited towards your space. So if you're using a cardioid pickup pattern, that's going to be really great if you're in an environment that needs a little bit of rejection and needs a little bit more sound treatment and control. But if you do have the luxury of being in a treated studio space or something where you can, eliminate or limit background noise, a condenser is going to be a great way to go. And you can have, cardioid pickup on that. Okay, Kevin hasn't seen it. So in case you're wondering who Kevin is, Kevin works with Shure, and he's amazing. And he's down in Nashville. And I'm in Connecticut, in case anyone's curious. And he's fantastic. So, he's a Shure expert. He's an expert on all kinds of things. He's also a killer drummer. So ask him all of your questions while I drink some water from my very fancy cup. All right. Hi, Frank. Thank you. I'm always happy to answer questions about mics too. I'm in the Ecamm Live community, so please hit me up. MV51 is the old-timey adorable mic. I love that. This is the old-timey adorable mic. Is that Katie saying that? Come on, Katie. Is it you or is it Caleb? And Alex, great question. Why would anyone use anything other than the SM7B? Budget. You're not a retired drummer, Kevin. Stop it. SM7B is my fave. Yay, it's Katie. I knew it because you thought you love the 51. SM7B is the legendary, iconic broadcasting standard, podcasting standard. So highly recommend it. Yes, Kevin. Kevin's amazing. Don't let him fool you. So again, if you don't want to go out and go whole hog and get the SM7B, the SM57 or SM58 with a little bit of EQ. I should have mentioned too, all of this is flat EQ. So you're hearing everything in its raw glory. So there's no coloration, no effects, no processing, nothing. So just to say that. So great options. Shure makes tons of options. And I'm just showing you, 4. So if you want to learn more, you can go to shure.com. We have tons of videos. We actually have some great learning examples on the SAI, the Shure Audio Institute portion of our site. So if you're wanting to learn more about how microphones work, if you want to learn about how wireless technology works, or about our USB microphones, you're able to sign up as a user. And you can just go in, learn all the things, and then find out more and know more than your friends down the street. We also make a wide selection of headphones and earphones too. So if you're trying to get the full package together, like right now, I'm monitoring my audio using our SE215 sound isolating earphones. So these come from onstage use. So you're used to seeing people with in-ear monitors. That's where they come from. But now we have them for everybody else to listen to music. And we also have headphones, the SRH line of headphones, which none of mine are within arms. Oh, yes, So like these, the SRH 840s, so studio headphones. And again, this is my day, every day, just grabbing stuff. The Aonic 50 noise canceling Bluetooth headphones. Okay, so we make headphones, we make microphones. There's something for everybody. USB, dynamic, condenser, ribbon. Ask me all the questions. Planning is key. That is true, Katie. Yes. Yes. Cool. All right. So if anybody else has any other questions, let me know. That was my noise canceling headphones falling off the table. But because we're durable, they're fine. So I think that's all we have time for today. But, again, drop questions in the chat. And if you have any other questions that come up where you're like, oh, I totally meant to ask her that. Yeah, the 50s, they do look pretty cool. Hold on, I'll get them again. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. 50s. Yes. They sound great too. They don't just look cool, they sound ridiculously good. They also have this thing called environment mode. So if you're walking down the street and you want to be able to listen to your music, but also hear what's around you, you can do that, which I like to do when I walk the dogs so that I can hear cars coming up. Let's see. What polar pattern is recommended for simple Ecamm zoom? Yes. You're not, David, don't apologize. That's not a newbie question. That is a great question. So he's asking what polar pattern is recommended for simple Ecamm zoom education delivery. And we're getting that question a lot right now because educators are being forced to become audio experts, which is not fair. So if you are going to be using a microphone for an educational use, I'd recommend something like this MV5 USB mic. The reason being, it's going to pick up very well. It's a condenser microphone, okay, with a cardioid pickup pattern. So it's going to pick up what's coming in the front, not the back. So if you do have students in the classroom, it won't be picking them up as much. You can have a little bit of a distance between you and the mic. You don't have to be right up on it. And it's going to be really, really simple to use, plug and play, has some volume control on the top if you are using headphones, because you can also plug headphones into the back. So this is a great solution. Now, if you are using the SM58, that's a cardioid pickup pattern. You just want to make sure that you're close enough to it. I think a lot of people, and I'll show you. Okay, so here's my SM57, which is the same as an SM58. If I'm all the way back here, you're lost. You know, you have to be right up on a dynamic microphone in order for it to pick you up. Whereas if we were to switch to this, this is my SM86. It can be a little bit further away, but it's going to introduce more of the room noise. But I think if you have an educator who is kind of afraid of microphones, or that's what most people do, they get a microphone and they go like this. You can't hear them. The microphone is dumb. Remember, it's only going to pick up what's directly in front of it. It doesn't reach out and grab the sound. So if you have an educator that's a little bit more shy or doesn't want to have to think about microphone technique, either get them a USB mic that can sit on a desktop and be a little more forgiving, or get a lavalier mic that clips to them that they would actually wear. Yes, that's right, Kevin. Kevin's saying 57s and 58s are, yeah, almost designed to touch your lip. Scott, great question. What's recommended for drum overheads? Unless you're asking Kevin because he's the drummer, but you can do a number. I think everybody has a different kind of choice for this one, but I'm a big fan of the KSM32, which is this guy right here. Also comes in a champagne color for overheads, and the SM27s. Great all around mic. Any bundles or specials associated with your live stream? I don't have a live stream bundle associated with myself, but on Shure.com, we have some incredible bundles put together for live streaming, for education. So if you go to Shure.com and put in bundles, it'll take you right over to that page. Or if you go to Shure Performance and Production under educate, you know what? I'm just going to pull up the link. Hold on a second, because it's a mouthful. Yeah, let's go to Shure. We'll throw the link in the chat for you there. Yes, Alex, can I explain the proximity effect? Yes, I can. So proximity effect is what happens with dynamic microphones. It gets a buildup of low-end frequencies and gets really boomy sounding. Now, with the microphone that I'm using right now, the SM7B, you don't really have that as much because, well, let me show you. You can see the capsule's way back here. Let me see it. So I don't have the proximity effect because I'm not actually on the microphone. So let me show you something else. So with my SM57, if I get up on the mic and I start talking, you can hear that buildup of the low end frequencies, and that's what's called proximity effect. So it gets really muddy sounding and not so good, and that's what dynamic microphones are prone to. We actually make a microphone called the KSM8, that is a dynamic microphone that has it's called dual dyne technology, two diaphragms, that actually rejects and negates that proximity effect, which is pretty sweet. But that proximity effect happens when you're up on the mic and you get a buildup of low-end frequencies. It gets boomy and muddy and not so good. So don't literally eat the mic. Okay, Kevin weighed in. So Scott, definitely listen to Kev because he's a drummer, but no, it's fine. It's cool. Just totally contradict me. It's cool. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's pick up the bundles here for you. I'll grab that link. Boom. Okay, this is a good link to start with for live streaming. If I can get this over here. Stupid mouse. Boom. Look, I put it in the comments. I'm getting so professional. Okay. Good. David found the bundles. Thank you, Ecamm, for posting those this whole time, and I'm just not able to keep up and read. Scott wants me to sing. That's not going to happen. But you can go to my alter ego site, lauraklapp.com, and check out music if you'd like. Because when I'm not talking to people about microphones, I occasionally still sing songs. Yes, that's a very good point. I used to perform live on stage with an SM58. Loved how you could work it. You can totally work it. That is very accurate. Okay. Well, those are some fun extra questions in there. But you can use that to good effect. Yes, you can use proximity effect, I guess, to your advantage. I've never found it to be very advantageous, but Revo cycle, you do you, man or lady. Music. Yes. So, anyway, we've digressed a little bit. We've had a great combo about things. We lost the stream. We got the stream. It's been an adventure, people. It's been an adventure. So, on that note, I think I'm going to bid you adieu. Thank you so much for letting me talk at you for the last little while. I wish you were talking too, but hopefully you got to hear the different sounds of the mics. Once we figured that out, thank you again, Alex. Aggregate device, note to self, not the one to use. Kevin, thank you for being here and backing me up. Scott, thanks for being here. Miss you, buddy. And Katie, thanks for moderating. If you have any other questions, please, please, please come my way and find me in the community and hit me up. And Frank, that is true in voiceover work. You're right. Proximity effect would be good for that. But everybody, have a wonderful weekend and keep rocking. And thanks for checking us out. Visit us at shure.com.